Hey there, today I'm here to share my March of the Mammoths TBR with you because apparently the month of February is pretty much over, which has kind of caught me by surprise. And of course, the month-long March of the Mammoths readathon is starting again on March 1st. So in order to participate in this readathon, you really only have to try to read one 800 plus page book throughout the month, but in previous years I've tried to squeeze multiple mammoths into my schedule, so I'm going to try to go for that again this year. My top record for mammoths read in the month of March would be last year, in March 2020, when I read 5 mammoth-sized books, but that was definitely due to all of these shutdowns that were happening because of the global pandemic. This year, I definitely can't achieve as much because I am back out in the world teaching in person as well. Our March break has been postponed for us, so I don't have a week-long vacation to work with like I have in years past, so that's definitely going to change what I'm able to achieve this month, but I'm still going to try my best. I also have a bit of a theme going on this year, which I'm calling Marching Through Time, because I've picked out 4 books and they are all written in different centuries. So I'm hoping to kind of learn a bit more about the progression of the novel and have fun getting lost in some different time periods while I'm reading. So let's start off with the oldest book on my TBR, which is Tom Jones by Henry Fielding, and this one will be representing the 18th century. I'm trying to read more 18th century literature in general because I realize like a lot of my favorite books are from the 19th century, and I would like to learn more about the history of the novel and how it has been changing and developing, especially the novel written in English, which of course Tom Jones is always cited as this incredibly influential text that really went on to shape a lot of books that came afterwards. So I'm pretty much picking up this book for educational purposes. You know, I'm interested in learning about this book's place in the canon and how it would go on to influence some other books, but also I hear from some people who I trust that this one is a pretty good time, although I do have quite a few trepidations about going into this book because it is touted as a comedic novel, and I traditionally haven't really enjoyed that many funny novels from the 1700s before. For example, I've read books like Gulliver's Travels and Tristram Shandy, and while I sort of understood what the authors were trying to do with their humor, I personally didn't find them that enjoyable. I found both of those books to actually be a little bit tedious, so I'm kind of worried that that's going to happen again. I'm not going to connect with this particular flavor of humor, but I'm hoping this book will prove me wrong and it will show me that there are some truly hilarious gems to be found from the 1700s. So I've really got my fingers crossed for Tom Jones. Moving ahead into the 19th century, I would love to reread Anna Karenina this month by Lev Tolstoy. This was translated by Louise and Aylmer Maude. I read this book for the first time when I was 19 years old, and I remember it was during summer break after my first year of university, and I kind of picked it up on a whim because I was not really into reading classic novels at that point in my life. I was pretty into like edgy modern classics, but I had not really picked up a big chunky classic like this ever before. And that's why I'm really excited to revisit this one, because when I read it for the first time, I had no familiarity with Russian writers, and I didn't really know all that much about life in the 1800s, but I have since gone on to read many classics in the 10 years that have followed, so I'm excited to go into this one again to see what my take will be, because I remember enjoying it the first time that I read it, but I didn't love it. It was not one of my favorites. It didn't truly ignite my passion for classics. It definitely opened the door for me and made me more interested, but I really don't remember having a super strong emotional connection with this book, and I'm curious if that is going to change my second time around. Then for my 20th century pick, I'd like to get to A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. This was published in the 90s, and it is a super mammoth coming in at 1,535 pages, which is a whole lot. But really, I've been seeing this book around for a few years. I was kind of interested in reading it, but it wasn't until I watched the Netflix reality series Indian Matchmaking that really made me feel like I had to go and read this book. I'm just very intrigued by the process of matchmaking, so I'm hoping that I'll learn more about it by reading this book. I also hear that this book will teach you a lot about Indian politics from the post-partition era, so I'm always game to learn more about that. So I'm hoping that this one will be a fun but informative transformative reading experience. And then last up for my nonfiction read of the month, I'm going with Red Comet, The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. This biography was published back in 2020, and I've heard nothing but incredible things about it, so I'm very intrigued about this journey. I've read Plath's poetry before, but I've never read like a long biography about her or anything, so I kind of know like scatterings of information, but I'm hoping that this book will make a good starting point for learning about her life. It certainly does look rather in-depth and thorough, so that will keep me pretty busy this month. I also wanted to mention that Jason from the channel Old Blues Chapter and Verse, who is co-hosting this readathon as well, will be picking this one up, so if you're looking for some discussion on this book, you can check out my videos, of course, but he will also, I'm sure, be talking about the experience of reading this book as well throughout the month of March. So those are the mammoths that I'm hoping to read in the month of March this year. I added up all the page counts together, and I'm going to be trying to read 4,324 pages this month, which should work out to around 140 pages a day. I'm hoping that this will end up being an achievable goal, but if there's one thing I've learned from March 2020 is that you can never really anticipate what's going to happen that far in the future, so I'm just ready for life to be unpredictable, and we'll see what happens, but let's hope for the best. So that's it for my video today, and if you are participating in this readathon, I wish you all the best. I'll see you again throughout the month of March for some updates, but take care, and I'll see you again later.